Hi, folks. It's really interesting, but this week's theme seems to be centered around self responsibility and how unpopular self responsibility is. Because if you're responsible, then what do you got to complain about? So this morning, I wrote on my blog, not on my blog, but on my Facebook page, if your first thought today was how miserable your life is, shut up. Why ruin everybody else's day? Which I find to be very good advice, okay? Because the reality of the situation is if you're constantly complaining about your life, sooner or later people will stop listening. All right? But I understand where you are, okay? And I understand that what I say over the next 9 minutes or so is most likely going to irritate anybody that's having a hard time right now. And it's because there are two basic concepts that I want you to understand. And those two concepts are that what's happening in your life right now may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. And the next choice you make is your next choice. And if it's the same choice you've been making, that is also your responsibility. And that I know is going to get, that one little tidbit there is going to get all kinds of hate mail flowing into my mailbox, which is okay because, I can handle it. It's my job. All right. Well, why is this? Okay. Well, when I wrote that this morning, I actually had a friend from high school write, going, basically he's having a very hard life. All right. And, the hard life he's making is not his fault. Okay. And he wrote it on the page there for everybody to see, so I don't think it's a secret. He's having to take care of a really sick parent who's probably dying, and it's been a really hard time for him. Okay. And I understand that. But what happens is in the brain, okay, and this is a biological thing that happens in the brain, is that the higher our emotions get in the context of a certain situation, we end up not seeing that there's any choice. We have our one choice, and that's the only choice. And if that choice is making you miserable, you end up in a misery loop. Let me write this down. Okay, let me show you. I'm just gonna real quick. You know how I love my board. All right. Here you are, nice human being. Okay, and you have this choice. We'll make the choice green. Okay, and you have made this choice. All right, which at first probably wasn't a bad choice. It was probably the choice you had to make at the time, or it seemed perfectly reasonable. All right. But through time, that choice is not making you happy. That choice is not helping you out. All right. That choice is making you miserable. All right. That misery feels like crap. So you start waking up in the morning, and the first thing on your mind is the misery. Okay? Does that make sense? You guys following that? I don't know why I expect you to answer me on video. All right. Now, what happens next is it's insidious, actually. Okay, this misery becomes infectious. You start looking every place in your life for these little examples of why this misery is valid. Okay, it's like my car sucks, my job sucks, my life sucks, my shoes suck, my butt hurts, okay? And then you take all of this and it all feeds into this misery, which reinforces, it locks in this choice. It makes this choice stronger and harder to change. Okay, now, this is, if I want to go through the chemicals, you end up with a severe dopamine rush, all right? Like, for instance, if this is your brain. This is the outside of your brain. That is the primal inside of your brain, okay? And then there's another reactive layer right there, okay? You end up with misery input that generates a primal reaction that ends up with a limited choice output, okay? Now, why is this different? Well, let me tell you. The outside of your brain is where creativity and adaptability exist. It's the outer mode. The brain is just very interconnected. Down here, it's very isolated. Input, output, isolated. Okay. This generates a dopamine response. Okay, that does that. This, you know, after doing this, this only feed into these justifications, which makes it more true, which generates this choice, which loops back to even more misery, which goes back into here and makes this even stronger. And over time, this feels like a locked-in, one-dimensional choice that you can't do anything about. And that is where I tend to irritate people, because I tell you, they don't have to live this way. Okay? There are other choices that are out there. And what happens is that you're totally blind to these other choices because you're so much stuck in this loop over and over and over, okay? This is biology right here, folks. All right? And to get out of it, you have to start using your brain in a different way. All right, now, real quickly, because I've only got 4 minutes left. You know, you're not locked into this, okay? Now, the trick is, you know, as long as all of these things exist, you are going to be locked into this one choice, all right? And if all those rationalizations exist, you're going to be locked into that one choice. So what we need to do is start deconstructing them. And, you know, like I said, I'm not a positive mental attitude guy. I'm not going to tell you, hey, look at the right side of life, all right? Because, you know, like I said, if you're having a bad day and you're having a bad life and I walk up and say, hey, look at the bright side, I give you permission to knock me straight on my ass, because that is bad advice. All right, so what do you do instead? Okay? In everyone's life, no matter how miserable it appears or how miserable it seems, you know, there are other doorways that can be open. There may not be any way to get out of the choice you've made, but you may be able to change your reaction to it so that it doesn't always end up being in misery. All right? You can do what you need to do and take care of what you need to take care of without being miserable. And the way that's done is because you have all these justifications around you that are feeding into this misery and giving you evidence. All right? And all of these have an emotional component to them. Well, what we found is that if you eliminate, or not even eliminate, but if you neutralize these emotions, then it actually gets you to where, if you think of the brain having this response, it actually neutralizes this one emotional concept so that you can actually begin to get access to the outer part of your brain and make new choices. Okay? You make new choices. It's not the easiest thing to do, to accept. I don't expect you to just accept that off of me. But if you think about one other choice, and here's how it starts, okay? Here's how, I'm going to give you some advice, okay? And if you follow it, great. If you don't follow it, well, then don't blame me. All right? Wherever you are right now, whatever you're doing, okay, whatever's happening in your life, think of whatever different thing you want to do. If you feel like you're stuck and you can never get out and go to a concert, or never get out and work out, or never get out and walk in the park, I want you to think of that one simple thing you want to do and notice what emotions get in the way. All right? Notice what the emotions are. All right? And then notice where in your life these emotions do not exist. That's a resource. Okay? And notice how these emotions are different than these emotions. All right? And just for a moment, take these emotions out of the way and just slide this up so that you look at that decision through these resource emotions. And it could be music, it can be it can be cars, it can be babies, it can be puppies. I don't care what it is. But if I can get you to see that you can make one different choice in your life, one different little simple shift, where even if you don't do this, then it seems more possible, you can start getting out of the state. You can start getting out of the trouble. You can start taking charge of your life, so that even if you have to do something that was making you miserable, that you can actually get through your day without your life, not without sacrificing your life. Does that mean you'll be 100% happy? No. But you'll be better, and better is better. And I want you to start thinking about it. Those of you who feel trapped, those of you who feel victims of circumstance, I want you to do this today. And if you think I'm an ass, feel free to email me, but your choices will be different when you take responsibility for how you look at the world. All right? And sometimes that choice is to feel like crap.